quick, we're going to jump into a little bit of a demo comparing GP and Acumatica. Some of the features, and as I'm doing this, I'll be switching between GP, which is one of the sessions here. I'll have Acumatica, which is in a browser over here. So you just bear with me as I'm jumping between presentation and screens, but I try to give you the most useful information about that. So GP, servant client application, I said it's been around for a long time now. They do have a web client option, but most people are not using that. They're using the standard product over here, right? You log in, once you get connected, right? GP could be deployed, but you can't run it in a browser without the web client. The web client is not a true cloud-based solution. So when we're talking about true cloud-based solutions, we're really talking about a solution that is able to run in any browser from anywhere, as long as you have an internet connection, right? It's completely scalable, so with responsive design, so that way, when you're on a screen, it's automatically resizing. I'm in a browser, right, and I want to make it bigger. I just zoom in, zoom out, right? All those feature functionality. And then it has a mobile app. So the mobile app is also part of the application, which really that's what most people are referring to when they say a true cloud application. GP can have multiple databases, companies. There's no limitation, right? So you can create as many GP companies as you want. It's just taking up space on your servers. And so, that's without Microsoft binary streams multi-entity management, you would need to log out and log into each company / database, right? For people that are using multi-entity, that allows you to use one GP company database, and you can then set up a segment of your chart that allows you to basically represent what that company is, and it adds another layer of within one database. You have additional security. You've got all these things that basically make GP, in some cases, similar to what Acumatica has, right? GP, if you're using separate databases / companies, you're going to have separate master records without, again, multi-entity management from binary stream. Acumatica has all this functionality built into it. So therefore, when you're looking at it and you want to be able to have different companies within the same login, again, it's all securable. So users can have only rights to certain companies or certain branches. All of that's possible. So when I'm in Acumatica, right, these are the ones that my user has access to. So I've got 3 companies, and so for me to switch between is really simple. It's just a click, as long as I have access to that, and it's going to go and it's going to load up all that information that pertains to that particular one, right? So I'm going to go back to my products wholesale again. So log in similarly to that, but once I get logged in, I'm just switching between these companies here that I have access to. So you can restrict or you can share master records, the concept of companies and branches / divisions, right? So you can do that with Acumatica. So if you want to be sharing them, those master records across all the companies, you can or not. If you have the intercompany module, then it's going to do intercompany balancing, which is the same thing that multi-entity would do with GP. If you're using a single database / tenant, in Acumatica's case, the security controls which are in that can, again, limit who has access to what within each of those. Acumatica does have the ability to have separate tenants completely, which is similar to what GP's different databases would be. So by default, you get a single tenant and you get a test tenant automatically. And so it becomes very easy to refresh your test tenant from your production tenant using some of Acumatica's functionality. Again, things that we like, right? Easy of being able to do that. Again, so I mentioned with GP, it requires multi-entity from binary stream. This will be in the slide deck if anybody's interested in it. Again, we have quite a few companies that use it. Really does a good job of adding that layer of functionality and keeping your users not having to log in and log out throughout the day as they're working in different companies. Again, Acumatica has that within it already. So navigation, home pages. So GP's got modules, navigation panes on the left, Acumatica's workspace on the left. So we're looking at GP and I go to my home, right? I've got my navigation panes over here. I've got shortcuts over here. And then I've got my links, right? These would quick links would be essentially favorites in Acumatica's case, right? So as I'm clicking around, it's taking me to that other workspace. I can see that entire thing. This was added to GP quite some years ago. I typically will teach people how to use this, so that way they're not using the old trees up here. Again, you can get to the same places. It's just a lot slower to get there from here, right? When we get to Acumatica, I've got my workspaces. And if I click here, it takes me to my homepage, which I define what my homepage is, right? So as a user, they define what their homepage is, what content is on their homepage. In this case, I'm representing an AP clerk, right? And I've got all these different widgets here that are actionable, right? So these are actually real live data, right? So if I click on this, it's going to open up a list of everything that's on hold, right? Unreleased documents, right? So I can click on that. I click on this bar graph. Again, this is all actionable information. So it's going to jump into my vendor details list, which is basically my open AP, right? So here it is. Again, this is what these are what they call primary lists in Acumatica case, but really what they are behind the scenes is they are based on what Acumatica calls generic inquiries. And we'll get into those a little bit later, but some of the feature functionality like in smart lists is very similar in all of these lists, right? So in this case, I can move columns around. I can add or take columns away using my column chooser. In some cases, you can add totals, which you can't do in smart lists, which is another thing we really like, right? So here's my other columns. If I add those, again, I can move them around similar to smart lists, right? All of that is standard functionality. Again, I'm changing it for my user. I'm not changing it for everyone. If you're an admin, you could set it so that way you have a default that you publish out to everybody. Again, but the users have that option. Again, when I'm in GP, closest thing I can get to that is my smart list, right? Everybody loves smart lists. So I go to my purchasing, right? Payables transactions, get my favorites, right? And I can take any of these favorites and I can put them as a favorite on my homepage back in GP. So similar functionality again at this point now. I can't drag columns around, but I can go to the column chooser here and move things around, right? So some similarities. The difference being is that we use smart lists heavily in GP. In Acumatica, everything is based on these lists, right? So these lists are more active, actionable versus having to go to smart lists. It's really like having all the primary lookups in GP basically become smart lists. So it's a different approach that way. Navigation lists important in GP. Not too many people use them, but I think there is some definite value in them, right? So if I go to my navigation list and I go to payables batches, right? This is a navigation list. These were added some time ago. You can build filters in here. If I'm on financials and I go over to my general ledger batches, right? I can look at the batches. I can post them from here. So more functionality. Some other things that a lot of people aren't aware of that it's pretty powerful. Is when you get to your navigation lists. There's some options on the items one that actually allow you to assign or unassign sites directly from that navigation list. So again, pretty powerful functionality that was added a while ago from Microsoft, and like I said, not a lot of people use them, right? And that's when you get into Business Analyzer and things like that. Again, when I get back to my homepage here, I've got some actionable, and I've got some information that's being pulled through SSRS here through Business Analyzer, but these are not clickable, right? I can't drill into these like I can with Acumatica's homepage and the tiles and those dashboards, right? And these are basically links to smart lists. So again, you can have those favorites there, take you to these different items. You can set reminders on them, but again, not quite as functional as what we have here in Acumatica today. All this is actionable information, real-time data. So every time we go, and you can set refresh rates on these, or I can refresh them all. Again, these are not complicated when it comes to setting these up. Designing them is real simple. It's a simple designer, right? You go in here. It's all based on that generic inquiry, those lists that we were just looking at, right? So it's you give it a name, what it's looking at, what is it doing. So again, this is not complicated. It's really designed for people to be able to configure it themselves. They don't have to come back to Cal and create customs each time, right? These are pretty much, we help you And once you learn how to do it, you're good to go. So again, homepage, GP versus Acumatica, they both have homepages. Some similarities. Again, Acumatica is just much newer technology, much more configurable. Again, dashboards fully configurable. The tiles that you saw there, the widgets, they're all actionable information, right? Unlike GP. GP has quick links, like I showed you on the homepage. Acumatica has something different, where instead of quick links, we have favorites. So if I go to anything in, so here's my dashboards. If I want to make that a favorite, I can just star anything on any screen, anywhere. If I star it, I go back to my favorites, it's not going to be on my favorites list. So similar quick links, just a little easier to use. So makes it easier for users that are having to not have to go to the different workspaces to find what they're looking for. Acumatica's navigation, searching. GP doesn't have anything like this. So when we're talking about navigation, obviously, we can get there many different ways, but I could also search. So if I just start typing and I know portions of it, it starts pulling up anything with the JUR, AO. So basically, it's searching anything here. As I start typing, it's also searching transactions. So if I were to type in a portion of an invoice number, so the global search in Acumatica is going to search anywhere in the system for any transactions. So it's automatically finding that invoice. So if I knew an invoice number from a customer, I knew the vendor's name, the customer name, if I had this phone number, it's going to search and find anything. So basically, it gives you that ability. So if I were to just type AA services, right, and I start searching for that, it's going to find the transactions for AA services right there. So it's going to find master records, your transactions, whatever you know about that is going to be searched in here. If I were typing payables and I'm searching, I don't have any transactions, but if I put in bill, again, it's going to search all the help topics. So again, this one search screen, this global search screen is how it finds everything. So you get your help topics. And then if I had any files that had attachments and there was some reference, so you can see here, here's an invoice with a JPEG, right? It's going to find files that are also attached. So for a lot of people, when they're using Acumatica, they will just use this, especially for things that they don't have on their favorite, but they don't do all that often, right? So I need to go checks. All right, it's going to start finding everything I have with checks. If I just type, again, a portion of the next word, it's going to start filtering. So it's basically filtering all of that out, helping you to find what you're looking for quickly, right? And if you go there often, you just mark it as a favorite. Now it's on your favorites page. In addition to your favorites, something that it has here is, again, I don't have this in GP. And so this is my most recently accessed records and transactions, and whatever I've gone to recently are here. So I can easily jump back to something that I was already on or working with. So again, really easy to do. Other things that we like in Acumatica and that we can't do in GP, right? So I'm on a vendor card and I need to go look at something else. I can duplicate the tab just using the browser, and now I can navigate to another vendor. All right. So now I've got two vendors open. Same thing, any transactions, anything you want to do, you can have as many of them open as you want. If I don't need them open anymore, I can just close them. Other things that you can do that, is nice that you need, like Smart Fill. And in the case of GP to be able to do is searching, right? Finding records. So if I'm in here, I don't necessarily need to. Let me go back to my bills and adjustments here for a minute. So again, this is a grid, right? A generic inquiry in the background. So you have full searching capabilities. So this main search is going to search anything in this grid based on whichever columns are marked to be searched. And it's going to start highlighting wherever it finds that information, right? So easy to find what I'm looking for without having to really go and do a lot of lookups. Most of the places where you're looking for a customer or a vendor, you don't necessarily need to know the name or the number. You can just type in what you know, and it's going to start showing you that list, a filtered list in those screens. So again, much easier to do so. in this Acumatica. Again, if you have Rockland Smart Fill on GP, you can add that similar functionality where you're able to do searching of the screens to do dynamic lookups. So I don't have to look up the vendor or do multiple clicks to get to that vendor ID, right? And with Smart Fill, I could look up the name and it's going to return the ID. In Acumatica's case, you can use whatever you know about it. Again, multiple screens, same time. Big limitation, unfortunately, with GP is I can only have one open at a time. So if I'm working with a sales transaction, I'm entering an order and another customer calls me, I can't open another screen and enter a new order. I have to basically put that one, save it, go back to it, right? So again, homepage, modules, navigation panes. GP, you got your home button, you got your navigation panes over here. Acumatica, we got our home button, which is the Acumatica at the top, which when deployed for a company, that would be your company logo would deploy there. And then you have all your workspaces across, and again, have whatever home pages you want. Dashboards, widgets, again, all live, clickable, drill down capabilities. So as you see here, AP invoices, date details from that aging. So I go into Acumatica. And I go back to my home page. Click on my graph there, and it's bringing me to vendor details. Again, this is a generic inquiry on top of the fact that you can have generic inquiries. Again, these are fully customizable. Other things that you can do with these is you can have side panels. So side panels can be anything in Acumatica. So it could be a related information. In this case, it's just basically showing me that all the details without having to open the transaction itself, right? And so I can open this up fully and see all the information here. Again, this one's open, waiting to be paid. If I wanted to have another report over here, so if I were to show a good example of that, might be sales orders, right? Where I've got lots of different side panels, as they call them. Basically, it's taking the information that's on this screen, this main generic inquiry, so my sales order list, and it's passing it over here. So as I'm maneuvering between the different data here, and my demo server's running a little slow right now, if I haven't accessed these recently. But anyways, runs much faster in Acumatica's cloud, obviously. But here I'm able to get to the customer record, able to printed forms, basically any related information. You're able to tie the data points together easily, and you can add these as simple as possible. Really no coding involved, right? To be able to take this list and add another side panel to it. So this is really the power behind Acumatica is based on this generic inquiry platform. And how it would equate to in GP, obviously, is more of Smart List Builder, not Smart List Designer, where Builder, you have some actionable information. So here I am. This is now a generic inquiry list. Again, these are my tables, very similar to Smart List Builder. But I get over here in navigation, and if I have other screens I want to add as a side panel, all I do is hit plus, and I tell it, okay, what pertinent information, in this case, I'm passing order number, order type over to the other screen. If it's a customer, I'm just passing over the customer information. So really, you're able to customize Acumatica or configure it to be really what your business needs without having to really get too deep in the weeds with customizations, right? So it's just a different level of capabilities. We talked about the global search. Again, it's searching menu items, it's searching transactions, profiles, searching help. So you really are able to find anything in the system pretty easily. Again, favorites access. Again, you just do that star click, opening multiple tabs. Again, those are things we can't do with GP today. We can't open those multiple tabs. You can do favorites in GP. Basically, again, if I go back to my GP here, these are my quick links. So quick links would be equate to favorites. And we do have a star up here. So again, some similarities.